welcome to the forum. I'm your host, Dana Frecolosi, and we are here with Kristen Brown. Can you introduce yourself?
Hi, thank you. I'm really, happy to be here with you.
Can you tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Absolutely. So I've been a Monroe County resident my entire life. I was born and raised here. I live on a family farm down in Temperance, Michigan, that we are just a few years away from being a centennial farm, so those roots run pretty deep. I've been with the community college fairly recently. I just started in October in this particular position, and I have 3 kids that go to Bedford, a senior, a sophomore, and an 8th grader.
Well, what does your job include?
So this position at Monroe is really unique, that I am housed at Monroe County Community College, but we are actually a consortium agreement with Michigan State University. So I run the program. Specifically, I have 7 students in the current cohort. Then we have students from the previous cohort, and so that would be every fall when they start. Our program is a 2-year associate's degree program. So students are able to get their associates from Monroe, but then they also get a certificate from Michigan State from the Institute of Agricultural Technology.
Okay.
So that's kind of how the program is run and based, but I'm also responsible for doing outreach, for doing different community educations, different programs with that, recruitment into the program, advising my current students, and then also teaching a few of the courses.
That sounds all wonderful. What made you want to do this?
So I didn't even know that this program existed. Sadly, I graduated from Michigan State, but didn't know anything about IAT, and so kind of fell into it a little bit. Previously, I had been doing a lot of different part-time jobs to make things happen. I'm a single mom with those 3 teenagers, and I was working at a local church doing curriculum for the kids ministry. I was licensed real estate agent for 4 years in Michigan. I was running a property management company, and I was also running our family seasonal greenhouse business in Temperance. So a lot of different things. At one point, I would run everything under my LLC, which is this and that consulting, because I do a little bit of this and a little bit of that. But that's the history portion. So I was at a point in my career where I wanted something more focused. I wanted to be able to just dive into one thing. Also, I was looking forward to having some regular benefits. So I saw that this position was available, and with having been that greenhouse, it was on our property. I grew up there from the time that I was 4 years old, and I was able to stand on a bucket. I had a job, and I also was a part of 4-H. So I raised animals. I had pigs and steers at the Monroe County Fair. So I've always been around ag. My family comes from farming, so it felt like a really neat opportunity to take my marketing skills, my degrees from state, to take my love for students and curriculum from what I worked on in the church, and all of my history in ag, combined it together, and it really felt like God just had this little position set aside. It was like, oh, by the way, it's available.
I love that you were a part of 4-H, because I myself was a part of 4-H.
Yeah.
The moment I moved to Monroe, I was a part of it, and it's a great thing to do.
It is. It's a great organization.
Yes, you learn a lot of great skills.
Yeah.
What sparked your interest for the field that you now are in?
So falling into it for the most part. So with the particular field I was in, I never knew that this position was available. I mean, I knew obviously Michigan State had a lot of different opportunities in agriculture, but I also didn't want to go live in East Lansing. I wasn't going to uproot my kids. And they ended up posting the position on Monroe's website. And then realizing that even though it's a consortium with both of them, because I'm technically employed by the college here in Monroe and Michigan State, but I'm housed in Monroe. So then it kind of opened a whole new world. It was like I could actually work for state, but still live at home. So there was a lot of opportunities. So that's kind of how I got into this particular position. But as far as being a part of ag, I mean, honestly, from the time that it's probably 50 degrees until it's 40 degrees, I'm outside doing something. I was raised on a farm, and my parents have 40 acres, and my dad is a retired farmer, and he also, after he retired from farming, he went into packaging sales. So people always say, like, well, what's that got to do with ag? But if you think of pumpkins, watermelons, all those really big things that come in the huge big bulk bins in the grocery store, my dad's company made those. So I've always been a part of that. And then again, the greenhouse. I've always loved nature, so it really just felt like a natural fit.
Okay. I know you mentioned MSU. What all is that? Have you already spoken about like your collaborations, or is there anything else that you haven't?
So, well, my history with MSU runs really deep. Yeah. It's really interesting to find out that actually the IAT, which again was the Institute of Agricultural Technology, that was actually the continuation of what Michigan State called their short courses. Okay. So Michigan State started as a land grant community, or as a land grant college, and started as Michigan Agricultural College. It's really where its roots are. They started the short course programs back in like the 1890s, and what those were was they were programs offered on 6 week time frames where they could offer it to community members, to different people in agriculture and lots of different industries, to do short courses where they could get education, they could get certificates that were applicable to career readiness, but they didn't have the time to go to a 4-year degree. We just found out, my daughter, who's going to state in the fall, she's going to be our 5th generation Spartan. And my great-grandfather was in short courses in the early 1900s. So my personal affiliation, I've been bleeding green my whole life. So that's really awesome, and I'm so proud to be a part of it. But the affiliation within the program, Michigan State had the short courses that turned into the IAT program. And what they realized was that these career readiness programs, they needed to be out in the community, in the hands of the people who could use them. There's so many people that are in agriculture in various different ways. A lot of times people want to think like, oh, you're an ag, so you must be a farmer, right? You've got your mud boots on and your jeans and a straw hat and a pick in your mouth, right? So many other things to that. So getting out into the community and being directly with people where they're happening and doing things. I specifically run agricultural operations and agricultural business out of Monroe. However, IAT offers programs in horse management, forestry, viticulture, which is the study of grapes and winemaking. We offer those at other partnering community colleges. So there's 11 different community colleges that offer this. Viticulture specifically is offered in Traverse City, where the wine culture is huge. Forestry is offered in Escanaba, up in Bay College. We also offer it on the west side of the state in Muskegon. So all of the different locations are tailored to what those communities need. So it's a way to get those programs out to those students.
That all sounds wonderful. You're a co-owner of K&B Plants and Temperance. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so that's kind of where those roots come from in the greenhouse. Grew up, like I said, with standing on a bucket, had a job. My kids are the same way. My oldest daughter came to work with me when she was 4 weeks old because that's just what we do. But what's interesting about our greenhouse is our greenhouse right now is a retail floral operation. So we sell bedding plans, hanging baskets, flowers to put into your bed, Al's flower pouches, lots of different things. But those greenhouses started in a different portion of agriculture. My dad was farming. They were doing a lot of fresh vegetables. So for instance, when you go to look at a field and you see all those tomatoes lined up, they had to come from somewhere. So we used to put the greenhouses up to do the tomato starts. So for instance, one greenhouse will hold 1,024 flats. Each flat has 288 plants in it. I'm not doing all of the math on that, but one greenhouse will end up equaling approximately 10 acres of fresh tomatoes. So that's where the greenhouse started. There's multiple canneries in Toledo, Ohio, so we would raise those, grow them for those farmers. They would then come get the plugs, plant them in the fields, harvest for the canneries. So our most recent one that we did was with Red Gold, and there's Red Gold canneries, and if you ever see the brand Dia Fratelli, like locally, those were our tomatoes that we started, so it's kind of neat. However, when my parents started that and they were doing that, after about 10-15 years, the canneries went out of business. They shifted. Our greenhouses sat vacant. So my mom convinced my dad, we can do flowers, let's make it happen. So now we primarily just focus on the retail portion and the flowers. We still do a lot of our own starts from seed, bring in different things, but it's a really neat way to stay as a part of the community and keep the business going.
What are some like the popular items that you sell there?
So our most popular is like our combination hanging baskets. We've been doing it for like 25 years now. So we have an old ratty book, we call it our recipe book, but kind of the same idea, when you go to read a recipe, you make your own tweaks and your notations, right? And you look at how things work together in a food recipe. We do that the same way with the plants. So we go through and every year we'll say, hey, that was a great combination, sold really well, grew really well. Then we'll go and we'll tweak that, or we'll make adjustments every year. So our hanging baskets and then also our flower bags are probably our biggest sellers.
At one of the board meetings, you received approval to build a pavilion on campus. Could you tell us more about that?
Absolutely. So Ned Berkey, who has been just a steward of our program, he is a semi-retired at this point extension teacher at MSU Extension. He is actually teaches one of my courses right now for the program at Monroe, but he has been just piloting and pushing the program. He's actually the one who got Monroe County Community College to agree to our student farm that we have there on campus. So there's a 12-acre farm. The land was allowed to be used by the agricultural club and our program, but Monroe County Community College does not actually pay for any of its use. So we are renting it for free. Everything that happens on that farm is done by volunteer basis. So we'll do different study plots for different businesses. We have a very large fresh vegetable garden that they're doing there. Those yields are then being given back to the community. So we're actually running a program with YMCA and then the MCOP. So volunteers come, plant the stuff, plant the produce, work to feed anyone in the community that is, underfed, and it's a really neat opportunity. So these are all different things on the farm. Ned has been pushing that, growing that. It has also been his dream to have a pavilion there. So that is kind of his last thing. He's very clearly stated, once I get the pavilion done, I'm really retiring. Sure, he's just gonna golf more, but he'll still send me lots of emails. However, the pavilion is going to be kind of like just a park pavilion that you would see at one of the parks. I believe it's 24 feet by 36 feet, and it's an opportunity for us to have an outdoor space that we can use as teaching, being just to have shelter, have cover from the sun, be out on the farm more and active, but it's also for the community. So it'll be a regular facility that can be rented through the college. We do an agricultural day in the fall for local students, usually for a lot of our FFA clubs, asking them to come out, see the farm, see what's going on. River Raisin Institute has used the space before as well. So the pavilion has been Ned's dream. It's in the works because Michigan State actually said they have some grant money for it. So we've finally gotten to a point where we can fund it. So, because again, it was something that Monroe wasn't going to put funds toward. Raising, upwards of $20,000 is kind of a lot on a volunteer basis. Michigan State has now offered that they'll be paying for it.
That all sounds wonderful. What's something you're looking forward to doing in your job?
The pavilion is pretty cool, so I'm excited for that. Again, being so new to the program, just continuing to see it grow. I have been in the community and in agriculture my whole life, and I didn't even know about this program. And the IAT, like I said, has been going since the 1890s. Specifically partnering with these community colleges has been the last decade. So 10 years, and there's still people who are regular here that have no idea what's going on. Really just seeing it grow. I would love to get to a point where I'm bringing in at least 12 students every semester. That's my early goal. Love to see it go to 20, so we'll see on that. But just really continuing to grow, educating the community, letting people know more of what's out there. For every one farmer, there are approximately 50 different careers that have to support that farmer for us to be able to eat. People don't realize that. They don't think of those things.
It all sounds wonderful. How do you see the agricultural program at MCC contributing to the local community?
Just with it continuing to grow with that education and that outreach, I'm actually going to be hosting a summer program this summer for students grades 6 to 9, and it's going to be, I think it's the week of July 14th to the 17th. It's a morning program for 2.5 hours. And again, just seeing more outreach happen so that I can get some of those students who maybe don't know what they want to do yet or don't have any ideas and don't realize that, for instance, they love playing games. Well, we actually have a course through Michigan State right now and Monroe that you can get your drone license. And that's one thing that one of the days, like I'm going to have an equipment day. So there's going to be a combine, a tractor, a seeder, and then a gentleman who has a local business that has a drone. And we're talking like car-sized drone that can spray entire fields in 30 minutes. But things like that, there's so many different applications. So, you're really good at your video games. Hey, you could be really good at a drone that could be spraying fields that regular equipment can't get to. Because right now in Monroe County, tar spot is something that attacks corn, and it attacks it at a point where they cannot get regular sprayers in. And if they don't have the drone spraying, they're losing their product almost completely. Kind of a devastating thing. So there's local drone companies that are doing really well helping customers with that.
I'm sure the kit kids are gonna love having
Yes.
getting to see like the drone in action.
Exactly. And it's just, you know what, that's the thing is kind of, my real goal in the growth is to just start to spark that interest. You know, one thing that I tell students when I do presentations is every time you walk into a grocery store, every single thing in that grocery store is tied to ag. Packaging, marketing, advertising. Like someone had to decide what type of package that's going in, what material we're going to use, what the logo looks like, how does it ship on a shelf, like look on a shelf, how does it ship through the trucks. Those are all things that are tied into agriculture. And it's just really trying to get that awareness out of things that you don't think of.
For any students considering a career in agriculture, what advice would you give to them?
I just recommend them to really be open-minded, that, you know, even any areas, there's applications to it. Someone who's really science-based, there's chemicals, there's spraying, there is, again, like we talked about, that packaging, manufacturing, food processing. There's so many different areas. Someone who loves to read and write and do different things, you could be a part of policy, marketing, advertising. So even for students who are interested in agriculture or those who don't know what they want to do yet, be open-minded in that. Right? Like we're at a point where we have a finite number of farmable acres and our population is growing hand over fist. So farmers are forced every single year to increase fields, decrease inputs, increase outputs. And if we don't figure out how to do that, I'm sorry, but someone's going to starve. I don't want to, so.
I believe we've covered everything. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for the opportunity to talk about my program.
Tune in next time to the forum where we learn about another member of the community. Thank you.